is Hope at Crafty Hope, and I am working on an art journal spread that involves an octopus for the Art Elements monthly challenge for August, and it's Octopus. So I decided to just make an art journal page. I had some loftier ambitions, but those just were not working out. I ran out of time and I didn't have all the materials I needed. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do an art journal spread. And I also made a necklace, and you can see that on my blog at craftyhope.com. But here I'm going to let you see my process for how I made this art journal page. Now I'm using a Dilutions journal, and I went ahead and taped the middle of it with just some masking tape because I was afraid if I did use some inks it would leak through. Ended up not using inks the way I thought I was going to, so it wasn't a huge deal. But once I got that tape down, I started my favorite thing, which is collaging old papers. I love old ephemera. I mean, any kind of book paper and dictionary paper and handwritten letters, and I think there's some newsprint in there and part of an old envelope, and I just don't even know. And I'm just using an Uhu glue stick, but any kind of glue stick would probably work. This one seems to be a favorite among the art journaling community, and it works, so, I've got a whole bunch of them. Now, for my collaging, I'm trying to stick to either blues or neutral tones to go in here because I know I don't want any other colors to show through because I really want to make a water scene for my octopus. So I am trying to stick with that. And you see here I'm adding a couple pieces of music paper there. I have this funny thing where if I use one type of paper on an art journal page, especially in a collage method like this, I don't want it to touch another paper of that same kind on there. It's one of those things. I don't want like to touch like. It tends to form a pattern, and I don't like patterns when I'm doing stuff like this. Now, I put down some Liquitex Gesso, and I always forget how thin it is compared to some other Gessos. I love it, but it goes a long way. And so I put like a light blue, I think it's blue cerulean Liquitex ink in with that and mix it to just give my watery background feel. And then I'm scraping that back with like a gift card to let some of that paper show through and some of the texture that paper and stuff adds behind it. And then I have a Lindy's Stamp Gang spray, and I'm trying to grab it over here to tell you the name of it. It's some kind of teal. Oh, I dropped it here. It is a teal spray that's got a little bit of a shimmer to it. And I just wanted a little more depth to this page, so I added it to add another contrast of blue. So what I'm showing you there is the other day, was going through all my stamps because I wanted to watercolor some stamps, and I found I had an octopus. I didn't even know that was in my collection, and that's part of how this page came into being. Was I was like, well, I'm going to just do an art journal page. So I stamped down that octopus on some white cardstock with StazOn ink. Now, StazOn ink is a permanent ink, so it was great for watercoloring on top of. And I just used a cheap watercolor, so not super cheap, not like dollar store cheap, but like not a super nice set of watercolors, and just watercolored with a water brush one day while I was sitting somewhere with not much to do. That doesn't happen often, but I had those with me, and so I watercolored my little octopus. And while I'm waiting for my gesso and spray over there to dry on the left, I took a white gel pen, and I'm just filling in some of the dots that are on there with it, and also giving a little sparkle to his eye. And then I realized, okay, let's look at this page. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out my heat gun here and dry it real good, because I don't want it all wet for all my next steps. Now here I'm going to work with, this is all under paper. Now it's the paper I put underneath my art journal or whatever other surface when I'm painting to kind of pick up all that paint and stuff. And I had these two pieces that had quite a bit of blue in them, along with some other colors for interest. And I'm just going to I've got these circle paper punches, in a variety of sizes, and I'm gonna punch those out to make my bowls. So, and I think I punched 3 of each of the 3 big sizes and 4 or 5 of maybe the smaller ones. I may be wrong on that. I may have just done 3 of those too. And I had a little bit of a fiddly time with some of them getting to it. So here you see I ripped the paper to get down to areas that I want to punch. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3. Yep, here I'm doing 4 and 5. So I guess I did 5. I may have done just 4. That seems a little odd, but that's fine, whatever. And then I'm taking that same white gel pen and going kind of just a sketchy sketch around the just inside the edges of those circles to, I don't know, give them more of a bubbly feel, give them a little shine, and make them a little more cohesive so they all have that sketchiness on them. So, and that was, a little bit of a tedious process because my white pen wasn't working the way it usually does. So that's why it's a little sketchy, but that's fine. I like it. And now here comes the decision making. I am laying out all of these, as I'm calling them, bubbles. They're really just circles, but I'm interpreting them as bubbles. And yes, octopus don't make bubbles as far as I know, but we're going to just pretend he's descending and he was somewhere where it was, dry and there was air, or maybe he's in a fish tank and there's bubbles in it. I don't know. I just wanted octopus and bubbles. So that's what I made for this challenge. So I laid those out and I thought about it far too long. Those bubbles sat there. So I was like, let's just work on the background and see where I can go. And that's just a big old pencil I got at the Dollar Tree. And I rubbed it on there, well, sketched it on there real sketchy. And I'm using my hand just to kind of blend it out a little because I just wanted a little movement in the background. So that's all that was. And again, I'm thinking, I don't know what I want to do. So I take a Distress Oxide in, what is that, like broken china? Yes, that is broken china Distress Oxide, and inked up the edges. And since that is water soluble, I've got my water brush there and I'm blending that in because I realized all that white around my octopus, he didn't kind of blend into the page. But now that broken china gave him kind of an outline, so he looks like he's in a bubble himself. So that's kind of fun, and I really dig that. And while I had the broken china Distress Oxide out there, I went ahead and grabbed some of my hand carved stamps, which are just erasers that I carve into fun little shapes. And I found this double circle one and just stamped it all over my page to kind of, again, add some depth to my bubbles. And I blended those out again with my finger just so that they didn't stand out too much. I wanted them to have more of kind of a blurry backgroundy effect. And I sat there and thought for far too long, and finally just was like, just start gluing stuff down, I hope. So that's what I did. So again, with my Uhu glue stick, since it's just paper to paper, no big deal, I am gluing down my bubbles. So I glued down, my octopus and then one of the bubbles, and I was like, no, I want to lay this out to make sure I get them where I want them. So then I'm just picking them up one by one and sticking them where I want them. Again, I lay them out and think about it so long because I don't want too many of them that have similar colors to be near each other. I told you I don't want like next to like. I don't want it to look like some kind of pattern. So, yeah, I'm a little obsessive about that. Ask my husband about the dishes sometime. Yeah, I have to wear dishes in blue, and none of the same color blue can touch. So I'm the only one that will put the dishes away because nobody else wants to go to the trouble of sorting the dishes. Yeah, a little OCD. So that was a Posca paint pen in light blue that I just made some little bubbles with it, and then I'm using the dark blue one to do the same thing. And these are, just some tiny bubbles that I'm adding here. And then I'm going to, once I get the amount of bubbles I want in there, I've got what is it called? It's a Jelly Roll Stardust pen, which basically is just like a little glitter pen. It's not even like silver. I don't even know how to call it. Stardust. It's a beautiful little sparkly gel pen that I am going to go around each of those little bubbles I added, the light blue and the dark blue. The light blue you can't see so much on this video, but you can looking at the page. And I'm just going around each of those with that pen to give them a little sparkle because there's so much interest on the larger ones. I wanted those smaller ones to have some interest. So there was me trimming off the bubbles at the top that were hanging off. And then this is just one of my writing pens. It's a Pilot V5. It's my favorite clicky black pens. I'm just going around each of the bubbles to give them a little bit of shadow around them. And here I've come back in with a, oh, I don't even know, I think, is that a Dilutions stamp that's got like dots on it? And I realized there wasn't any of that violet, like the octopus, in anything else on this page. So I wanted to add that in. So I used Seedless Preserves Distress Oxide to put a couple little dots on my bubbles. And then a dark blue Neocolor 2 crayon. I'm going underneath each of the bubbles, and then it's water soluble too, so I'm blending that out just to give the bubbles a little depth and a little shadow. Now again, this is something nobody else will probably notice but me, but I love it. I like having that little bit of blendiness. And I started to do the same thing with the watercolor pencil, but I changed my mind. And then I'm going to go, I realized that the dark blue wasn't anywhere on my octopus, so I'm going to try to add a little bit of shadow on him, but again, that's something that just, it doesn't end up showing up in the end, but it's, you know, it's whatever. So this is my art page, my Octopus Bubbles art journal page for the Art Elements Challenge. I hope y'all like it. If y'all have any questions, please comment below and ask me. And give me a thumbs up if you like this. Thanks so much for coming by, guys. Bye.